What's up, guys? Welcome to Captured with Shan. This is a channel that will cover a lot of creative things such as photography, video, and tech. And today we are going to kick this new channel off with the first impressions on the Samsung Galaxy A31. So thanks to Samsung South Africa for sending this through. And yeah, let's get into the specs. So the Samsung A31 is part of Samsung's A series, which they class as awesome. And I think what's really awesome about the lineup is it's focused on giving an affordable flagship experience in the mid-tier section. And yeah, let's just highlight some of the key specs that come with the Galaxy A31. So the one I have is a 128 gigabyte dual SIM model. And what's nice about that is obviously with data and call contracts that you may have, you can actually switch between the two, and that's quite nice to have as an option. The screen is a 6.4-inch Infinity U display. It's FHD plus, and it's a Super AMOLED, so lots of pixels, and I think that's where they kind of focused on with this phone. And then the design is quite nice. It's a bit it's a plastic phone, obviously being a budget-minded phone, but it still feels quite slick in the hand. It's quite big as well with that 6.4-inch display. So that's something to keep in mind if you have small hands. This is a device that you won't really be able to use with one hand. And then moving on to another main feature of this phone is the cameras. So there's 4 cameras on the back, and obviously you have your selfie camera. So the 4 cameras on the back consist of 5 megapixel depth, of 48 megapixel main camera, 8 megapixel ultra wide with an added 5 megapixel macro. And your selfie camera is a 20 megapixel selfie camera. So I think this is where a lot of companies have focused a lot on over the past few years. It's just trying to get that selfie camera, as crisp as possible, especially with content being catered for that now with, TikTok, Instagram, and all of those. And then you have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, which is quite massive, and that should, with the idea of using such a big screen, I think they really needed to put in a big battery just to cater for that. And especially if you're consuming a lot of content, this is a feature that you'll really like. So yeah, with the specs out of the way, I've been using the device for, I think it's been 3 or 4 days now. So just giving my first impressions. There's a lot of features that really appeal to me, being a content creator and a content consumer. Obviously with Netflix and YouTube being, with quarantine and being at home, those are the apps that I usually go to now. And I think the full HD plus display, 6.4 inches, that is something that you can really, make use of. And it's good to see that at this price point, which is roughly around 6,000 Rand, but you can find a good deal here or there on Takealot or on Samsung's website. I think that is one of the key areas that they focused on. And I suppose, when you look at a budget phone, you need to appeal to the masses. And I think they've really focused on, 3 main features I feel that they focused on just to nail that, that approach. So the screen is really good, looks really crisp, is really bright and vibrant as Samsung panels usually are. And then you move on to the camera. And I think the approach they went on was, let's not just fill the cameras up, the camera space up with cameras that don't make sense and are unusable. So they went with a depth, macro, ultra wide, and a standard high resolution main shooter. And I think what's nice about that is with the ultra wide, when we are allowed to travel, in the near future, hopefully, you can then capture a lot of the scene. And I think that's where most people who aren't photography enthusiasts will gravitate towards instead of having a tele or zoom lens. And moving on to the depth camera, that is something that I don't think a lot of people will be using. It's nice to have now and again, but I think you always resort to using the main shooter at 48 megapixels, which is quite a nice number, especially when you have a lot of light coming in. I think that's something that you can really take advantage of. And then you obviously have your macro. And the macro is a nice feature to have, especially for people who aren't really that big into photography. It's nice for them to get that experience of playing with a macro and seeing some of the cool shots you can get with, that camera. And then, the selfie camera, I'm not really big into selfies or, TikTok or Instagram, that form of content. So I don't think I'll take advantage of that, but it's nice to see that there is a lot of detail that can be captured on that selfie camera. I think the second feature that really had me, like this could be a phone that I could use is the battery. So 5,000 milliamps. It comes with a fast charger in the box, 15 watts. And what that does is it basically gives me the security. Obviously, I'm at home these days, but when we do eventually journey out into the world with 5,000 milliamps, you're not afraid to use your phone and use the features that are there. So the screen, you can actually bump up the brightness and not be too concerned about running your battery down and having it die before the end of the day. But yeah, there's some things with the phone that obviously it is a budget centered phone, so they can't give you all the options that tech enthusiast wants, like all the features like a super fast refresh rate. It's only 60 hertz, but I think at this price point you're not really looking for 120 hertz anyway. So I think it's a nice overall, well covered phone with the main features being covered to cater to the wider tech audience, and just general people who want to use a nice phone with a nice screen just to consume content. So I think they've really nailed it from that perspective. So one of the features where I think it might hinder the performance of the phone, even though there is an octa-core processor in it, it's on one of the high-end Snapdragon. The thing that does hinder it is the RAM. So you do have a 4GB and a 6GB option. The one I have is a 4GB option. And the problem with that is sometimes it just doesn't handle the phone, sometimes it just doesn't handle all the activities well, especially if you've got a lot of apps running, it struggles to kind of keep up with that. And also you can't really run heavy apps. For instance, you can't even download Fortnite. Currently looking at other, gaming options that you can, because the phone does feel snappy. It's just that when you start running multiple apps, it may lag here or there. But I think overall, first impressions, the phone is really good for that price point, 6,000 Rand versus the higher end phones, which are, 15,000 and up. I think this is a nice way to get into Samsung, the Galaxy ecosystem. And yeah, I think you get a lot for your money. And I've got a few videos planned for this phone. So yeah, be sure to subscribe, and thanks for watching.